the broadcast. So I wanted to kind of pick up where I left off. That you kind of have to have a level of maturity when it comes down to understanding kingdom marriage, because this is not for the faint of heart. This ain't for the weak. This ain't for the people that just want to sit up here and have something to talk about because you want to sit up here and increase your follower range and count because you don't have that many people. So you figured out that, oh, if I put kingdom marriage in my hashtags, people won't want to listen to it. You wrong, and you know you're wrong. There are people out here that are true, authentic voices of God that have literally gone through blood, sweat, tears, prayer, fasting, and all kinds of stuff to stand for these relationships. And they the ones sitting up there, well, it's such an oversaturation of kingdom marriage words, and I don't want to lead in anybody astray, and so many people are doing this, and I don't want to be considered what they were, blah, 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 blah. That they're not willing to even come on here and desire to want to talk about this stuff. And it's something that really is happening. It is a real movement of people, and there are real people that are standing, and there are real people desiring this. Real people. Real. We ain't out here just because we want to be cute and we want to talk about this stuff. No, we out here because this is a real dilemma. This is a real situation, and we have come to the realization we want real love in our lives, and we want to actually have real situations and circumstances in marriages. But we also have to come to the realization in the realness of it, there's warfare. Because there are spiritual doors that once you open this door to knowing who your person is, you're going to see something you may not want to see. If you're not spiritually strong enough to understand spiritual warfare, witchcraft, and generational curses, you just might want to back away from this content. Because this is real. This is a battle. The word talks about, I will teach you how to war and your fingers to fight. This is what this is. It's a real fight. Because the enemy has come to the realization that not only have you come to God, but you're about to take one of his servants that he is happy to have had in his stream and open their eyes spiritually, give them wisdom, and give them understanding of the fact that they have been going in the wrong direction for the longest period of time. And with them understanding that they've been going in the wrong direction, if they choose to accept the assignment, they are then going to not only turn away from him, but they are going to actually begin to make progress for God. So every ungodly thing associated with them, witchcraft, generational curses, spiritual warfare, is going to hit them like a ton of bricks. And if you, the person that had enough audacity to open your mouth and pray to the Lord, can you please tell me who my God or dispatch is, are not praying for this individual, they are getting hit with a battering ram in the spirit. And they don't know where it's coming from. And this will happen if you just start praying for somebody and they aren't in alignment with God's will for their life. Ask me how I know. I remember I was praying for a friend of mine. I wanted their life to turn around. And you realize that every time I prayed for that individual, something happened to them. They slipped. They fell. They darn near lost their eyesight. I was like, what the heck is going on? I'm praying they're not in alignment with God. I would give them advice. I would tell them to go to church. They actually did. But then they would come out of church. They would come out of God's will for their life, and they treated it like it was just a thing, not understanding the spiritual ramifications of being in God. They just saw church. These are things that will be revealed once the door is open. You have to pray for them, because as you're praying for them, and some might sit up there and say, but if I start praying for them, then they're going to end up in a bunch of warfare and a bunch of attacks. I don't want them to get hurt. No, none of us want them to get hurt. But the Lord will allow a certain amount of attacks to hit them to give them wisdom. So I'm right here. And see, what ends up happening is the people operating in witchcraft around them, they'll see and start looking to figure out, well, where is it coming from? So they'll start using all kinds of seeing and going into the spirit realm and trying to figure out. This is how they ended up looking into you where it's supposed to be. And they'll think you the witch. Ask me how I know. Got tons of confirmations of it. They'll think you're the witch because they getting attacked. And you're sitting over there looking cute. You ain't over here looking cute. You over there praying for their soul. But what the enemy is doing is because of the fact that they don't understand what the enemy is putting in between the two of you. The enemy is rolling grenades in their life. It's like, I'm going to throw as much as I can at you. But understanding that because you're praying, that those attacks are going to get weaker and weaker. The only thing that's going to make those attacks stronger and stronger is the more they rebel against God. And God's going to start tapping them on the shoulder and say, hey, bro. Hey, sis. If you want this to stop, I'm going to need for you to get in alignment with me so I can stop this attack on you, or the attack that I allowed to happen, because didn't Job get attacked by Satan? Because God allowed it. Again, I say Romans 8:20. I allowed you to become a victim of your own vanity in hopes. It was a hope of the Lord to allow them to go through all that calamity so that they would see, oh, it ain't cool to be over here without Jesus. And now that their wife and or husband now knows, once they start looking towards your direction, God is now giving them spiritual understanding. Hey, that's your woman. Hey, that's your man. And they sitting up there, my life done gone straight to poop sick. And you telling me that's my person? And God's like, yeah, but the reason your life is going to poop is because, well, let's just be honest, you are not serving me. And I would love for you to go to that individual, and I would love for you to walk with that individual, but you can't walk with that individual because your hand's too dirty. Remember when, I believe it was David, he couldn't build the temple because his hands were too dirty. It was either David or Solomon, but I think it was David. You can't do it because your hand's too dirty. Sorry, sir. No. You can't go over there to where your wife is until you clean yourself up. You still the prodigal out in the pig pan. So I'm going to need for you to get yourself together before I allow you to go anywhere near this individual. But with that being said, there are going to be people in that person's life. And this is happening to you also, but you don't realize it. There are people in your life that the enemy is allowing to see the blessings that are going to come into your life. And they're monitoring you for when that blessing enters your life. And if you pray hard enough, the Lord will show you who those individuals are. And it's not because that they in particularly want to see you not reach your blessings. It's because the spirits on them leave them to have open doors to the enemy to thereby want to curse you or prevent you. And it can even be the enemies operating in witchcraft on your husband's side that will spiritually go through the people closest to you, open doors, and use them for information, for understanding, seeking out things. But if you're spiritually wise, God will start telling you who these individuals are. How so? You'll start to see their names written all over the place. And you're sitting there wondering, why am I seeing this individual's name everywhere? Why is this person popping up in my dreams? Why is this person looking at me? Why is there somebody in my dreams staring me in my face when I go into the dream room? And I mean, they looking at me like they looking at me. Like they mad that I'm here. Yeah, because that's a familiar spirit that is operating, that's trying to seek and gain knowledge from you because they now know you breaking down walls. The women that they're even sleeping with and or men may be able to pick this up. This is why some women, and some of you may be going through this, when you came into the knowledge of who your God-ordained spouse was, or that you wanted to go on a kingdom spouse journey, and you started praying, God said you're going to start praying. And when you start praying, you're praying for your kingdom spouse. Now, you might have thought that it was the person that you was with, and it actually ended up being not. Because I've seen multiple cases where there were women that were sitting up there, and God said, I got you in with me first. You're kumbaya and worshiping and praising and praying and doing all of these things, and you're seeking out your purpose. But that individual that you're standing next to, that individual that you are sleeping next to, that individual, sorry, that ain't it. How do you know? They start acting like a plumb fool. Not to say that the one that is ordained to be with you is not going to act like a plumb fool too. Why? Because they still dealing with their spirits and have not given them over to God. Okay? And because of that, it leaves spiritual and mental warfare. God is telling you over and over and over, this individual is your spouse, whether it's your husband or wife. And you have perceived it, and now you're in a fight. You may be in a fight with them because, hey, maybe you are married to the right person, but because you're spiritually aligned with God and they aren't. Two people can't walk together unless they agree. So God may sometimes separate you because I need to work on you and I'm going to work on them separately. I need to break off these spirits of lust and perversion and generational curses and demonic strongholds and family generational issues and bondages and all of these things from this man and or woman. So if that individual starts entertaining a counterfeit, or maybe they were entertaining a counterfeit because you don't know who this individual is, but you're just praying for him because you asked God, hey, I want to know who my God-ordained spouse is. Guess what? If they were in a relationship when you started praying for them, this woman is going to start acting like a plumb fool. Because spiritually, they may not understand what's happening, especially if they're not in tune with spiritual witchcraft. Maybe they just happen to be one of those people that they just not supposed to be with your God-ordained spouse. But spiritually, if they got any door open, meaning if they out there operating in sin with your God-ordained spouse, they probably got the alcohol door open, the lust door open, they got all these doors open, and the enemy's saying, yeah, I'm gonna use you. I'm going to use you in every manner to everything that this individual is praying against. I'm going to use you to make these things happen. I'm going to have you seduced to them when they're praying against lust. They're praying against perversion. You are going to initiate perversion. They're praying against rebellion. I'm going to have you lead them right into rebellion. I saw a word by Stephanie P. and it literally was entitled unknowingly but willingly doing something. Some individuals don't know what they're doing because they spiritually are being activated and do not understand what it is that they're walking into. They don't know. They are spiritually oblivious. But they're willingly doing it because they're willing to spiritually hear the communication that's going to activate them. Yeah, I'm going to go do that. Yeah, I don't like this individual. Don't even know where the thought came from. Spirit. They get hyped up to seduce your man. They get hyped up to do all this. Man don't know no different. Go back and look at my word that I said. When I talked about they saw you coming. He ain't know. But they position themselves as an adversary to you, which is a bad thing because when God decides to come into this thing, oh, it's going to be a problem. And then you're going to find out sometimes it's your family and they family. They done did sacrifices. The parents done did sacrifices. Your family done did sacrifices. They done sacrificed in this realm and that realm in order to keep this person in this spiritual bondage. But you nor them don't know that until you started praying against it. And then you done messed around and found you a good minister. I'm going to tell you this and I'm going to tell you this. If you looking for somebody that has real or what's the word I'm looking for? Real authentic desire to have you delivered from your generational curses, especially for marriage, please go look up Tiffany Montgomery because she will bless your whole heart. And once a month, she will stand with you for a series of days for whatever it is that you are seeking to get revelation for. But you got to realize she's like a boot camp sergeant. She ain't playing with your demons. Either you're going to get rid of the demons or you're going to leave her alone because she going to offend you about 15,000 times over if you ain't ready for that kind of understanding. But that's what you need in order to recognize you and your God-ordained spouse's demons. Because you done messed up and pissed off the demons in that bloodline. And these women and or men have been set up as a spirit spouse that is operating in a succubus or incubus spirit. And when they're operating in these spirits, they are literally seeking out to keep this person in bondage and tied down to them. And you're the one that's got to pray it off. And you don't understand and you be wondering why you having dreams, seeing a woman giving you death stares. I already just talked about that. Because you're threatening the curse. The curse that they spent, that the demon operating through them spent a ton of time trying to enact. And you have made yourself a target. And you got to be ready to fight because in the spirit, they're going to send every attack at you. Ask me how I know. And if they can't hit you because you're covered in the blood of Jesus Christ, the next closest person to you that isn't covered in the blood of Jesus Christ, they're going to hit. Perfect example. Last year, my daddy got sick. And I was living with him. And when he got sick, it didn't affect me at all. But boy, was he a mess for several days. Why? Because the enemy know he can't touch you. There's a supernatural thigh and a fin hedge of protection around you. But he can hit them because they got open doors. You have to know and understand that these individuals understand, and your God ordained spouse may be oblivious to it. They're oblivious to the curse, the Delilah, the person that's operating in a specific targeting this man that you're praying for. And you have to have the revelation of what it is that they're dealing with, meaning you have to be willing to sit down and pray for 2-3 days in consecration to get revelation what it is you need to pray off of them. And guess what? First, they're going to rebel. If you treat this lackadaisically and you don't pray, sitting up there thinking that God is just going to send him. Oh, he's just going to send him. I now know he's just going to send him. Absolutely not. Because the enemy has now made a target to hit this man, especially if you're the prayer warrior. Okay? Once the enemy knows you know, the enemy will send a Madrid of all kinds of distractions in this man's way. Work, business, women, all kinds of things. Whatever it is that man's temptation and that liking. Most importantly, he's going to send whatever it takes in order to keep those soul ties, those curses, those things that man is dealing with in place. He's going to keep it there. So the man and or woman plays and entertains more of those games. And now that woman or man is going after you. And he's operating in a level of complacency with the enemy. So now the enemy, if your prayers start to work and they start separating themselves from these individuals, what the enemy will do, because remember how the scripture goes. He sees his house swept clean. He's going to send how many more? 7 more, even worse. So if the man starts to pull out, but if he ain't completely pulled out, what the enemy will do will keep sending same type of attack back around again and again and again. How so? Let me give you an example. This is just simply an example. Let me go get Delilah and trap him. Let me go get Jezebel. That's just their flavor. And maybe it's somebody that was from their past that they had a good time with. And they won't be able to resist this person. And this person is working witchcraft as one of the strongest counterfeits that they had been with. Operating as Jezebel's daughter. Having an air of godliness, but no God in them. And they'll entertain them because, hey, this person acts godly. They speak God. They know how to say God. They wear a cross. So when Jezebel has the opportunity that when he manages to get away from her, this person looks safe because he just got away from Jezebel. But this person is operating as Jezebel's daughter, which is the identical equal opposite to what he just separated himself from. And he gets caught up in that. Each one has their own proclivity. Maybe this one likes to drink with him, and she get drunk whenever they get ready to get it in. Ask me how I know. I saw this happen to a woman that I used to know. The man would always come to her house as soon as he came into the realization that she was alone, and he only showed up. And it wouldn't surprise me if she called him. And he had her flavor, the right alcohol to get in the door, to get whatever he wanted from her. Just so they can have sex. Maybe your person, woman, man, she smokes. She brings the cigarettes or the hallucinogenics, the one that he likes, which makes the sex better. And they're high together. And now she's doing all kinds of rituals with him because he's too stoned to realize what in the world's going on. Blood covenants, soul cooking, playing all kinds of games with his head and he don't even realize it. Or maybe you got the last chick who's acting like she just won't be the love maker to him. This girl, she's hooked into his sex. So because she's hooked into his sex, she answers whenever he calls, and he'll wine and dine this one like he's actually in a relationship with this one. Romanticize her. And when he can't see the others, he treats her like a goddess. And she got an air of godliness, no God in her, which makes her seem as safe as a godly woman. But she out here working candle work behind his back. And he's sprung up under all these women. And each and every one of them is operating in some level of witchcraft. Lighting him up and is actually being ping-ponged. I'm seeing a ping-pong game. You ever see them ping-pong games where it hits one side, ding, 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 ding? Yeah, he's going back and forth between all of them. And they just rolling him around like, ooh. Just to keep him away from you. Until you take intercession over this man serious and start to really pray for this man. I mean serious, meaning you realize, because the Lord starts to spiritually show you things, because you're getting into the presence of God, you're praying with God, you're fasting with God, God's opening doors. You sitting over here praying for something completely different, and God starts showing you stuff about this man, and you sitting up there like, for those of you, to my gentlemen, that sometimes think that we just sitting up here thinking about you all day. We got lives. We got things that we're working on. We got all this type of stuff. Sometimes we praying for answers in relation to the other things. And God will roll information about you in front of us. And we're like, okay, I'm going to take it into prayer. I'm going to pray about it. You showed it to me. I'm going to do it. But we might have been praying for our business during that consecration. And God said, yeah, in order for your business to thrive, I'm going to need you to pray for this man because, yeah. Hello. And then the monitoring spirits that are operating through them, through religious spirits and entertaining counterfeits, all come after you. And there's spell work being done against you and all kinds of praying being done against you in order to distract you. And sometimes you ain't even paying attention to this kingdom marriage thing. And God be like, wait, I'm going to need you to pray about that. And you're like, but God, and the reason he's telling you I need you to pray about that is because there's an attack that potentially is coming against them. And because y'all spiritually connected now that you know, the attack's going to hit them and bounce back and hit you. So you might feel the reverberation of the attack because you're spiritually covered in such a way, but they're getting the whole attack completely and totally. Let me give you an example. There is a person that is dealing with, let's say, lust. Your spouse hasn't been delivered from lust, and then all of a sudden you've been praying for them in all of these areas, and then all of a sudden you happen to notice, wait, I'm feeling lust. But you feel safe to feel that way because you're lusting after them. And God's saying, no. You lusting, period, is a sin. Because there's a scripture in the Bible that says that if you're thinking about it, it's as bad as doing it. And you're supposed to be operating in the consecration of the Lord, yes? You see how that works? But you're telling me that the things that they're dealing with yes, you're connected to them spiritually, yes. But then the counterfeit that they are entertaining and sleeping with now has legal bondages attached to them that need to be broken. And they're sending and setting traps, monitoring spirits that are meant to be plants, to plant seeds, to push you farther away from them. And then you start operating in apathy. And they start sending splitting spells against you. And they start trying to spiritually sever your soul tie to them. But what God has put together, no man can put asunder. Not even a person operating in spell work. Because they are spiritually tainted and operating in rebellion against God. Through what? Lust, perversion, masturbation, sex outside of marriage, acting in their own will and rejecting God. And if you are separated from this person every month or two, you're going to start to notice some form of an attack. However the Lord speaks to you, whether that's through TV, radio, whatever it is that he speaks to you through, talking about somebody coming back into an individual's life, especially if you're praying for somebody against counterfeits. You're like, why am I seeing all these shows where some woman is starting to try to get this man to come back with her? I don't even watch stuff with that like that. This person desperately is desiring for this person to come back into their life. Oh, because I've been praying for my God ordained spouse, and there's a counterfeit trying to come back in his life, and I just saw 3 confirmations of that. And they're trying to come to bring a delay to your union. And they don't have the addition of counseling, which means they still operating in the curse and still cycling around the same cycles over and over and over. And if you're praying for them, you notice the stronger you pray, the more the witchcraft weakens and will start to be able to shake it off. But what happens is you sense them getting to themselves and getting themselves together, and you stop praying for them, which allots the opening, because you didn't pray it completely off, but you prayed enough that you no longer saw an issue or felt an issue. So Jesse came right back. You break it for a month, 2 months, and then they come back. You break it for 4, 5 months, then they come back. And now you sitting up there frustrated because you're like,